And good evening, everybody. Live from quarantine. Hold on, my nose is exposed. Good evening, everybody. Live from beautiful Western Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, PA, where I just found out there's more coronavirus cases in Pennsylvania than there is California. Sorry, I can't breathe in this thing. I cannot breathe in this thing. Good evening, everybody, and welcome. I'm Brian Carruthers. Welcome to 31 More Days with Brian and Ed. It's going to be an action-packed show, but first, let's bring in the star of the show. You know him as the Balded Wonder, bald and beautiful, the pride of the Mon Valley, the one and only Ed Troop. Good evening, Ed.
Hey, what's going on, buddy? How are you?
Good, man. I wanted to mention on the left side of us right now is one of your original artworks. Now, tell us what this is a picture of.
Well, that's Fozzie the Bear and Kermit the Frog, but it's Muppet Babies, not the full Muppets. Those were the Muppet Babies I did for Brendan probably about 6 months ago. Drew that from scratch too, but that one I had no video instruction.
This is a very demented version of Fozzie Bear, and the Kermit, I think I'm going to have nightmares about for the rest of my life.
Oh, man, I thought these were good. I thought this was some of my better work that I did. Huh?
I mean, yeah, well, I can tell that it's Fozzie Bear. Again, he's got like a kind of a weird, what does he have, like a graduation cap on instead of his normal hat?
No, that's the thing that spins around, right?
Oh, right. Yeah, of course, of course. Well, good evening, everybody. Hi, Jen. Hi, Bob. Hi, Mike. Hi, Patty. Great to see you all tonight here on 31 More Days with Brian and Ed. Let's put the countdown on. Days in quarantine, if you're counting at home, is 31. Ed, it doesn't feel like a day over 100. I don't know why it feels so long right now.
I know, right? 31 days in already. It's hard to. We've now matched our countdown, which is 31. Do you think we're going to get extended past that 31?
Well, Trump today said he wants to try to get us open before the end of April, so he's pushing hard. So maybe our show will be canceled, and we'll see. I just hope we do what's best. How you doing, Sean? Welcome to the show. Good to see you, man. Hi, Jen. Yeah, what a show tonight. We have three great guests. Clyde Callicott, who's putting together that at-home concert on Saturday. We'll talk to him. Also, Sean Gibson from the Josh Gibson Foundation. Today is Jackie Robinson Day all across Major League Baseball and across the world. And, of course, we'll have Mark Kaboly senior writer from The Athletic and Bill Powerhouse U's best friend. So yeah, I can't wait to talk to him.
We'll have to talk to Mark about. We had Bill on the show last night, and he had some information about WrestleMania 15 that they went together with. So we're supposed to ask Mark about that. So if Mark's listening right now, he can get prepared for that.
And he's already cringing of it. He already gave it a thumbs down. But anyway, quickly, I had my mask on. It's now a requirement. Governor Wolf today said in his press conference, Ed, that if you go into a restaurant, you can be turned away and not served if you're not wearing a mask. So basically now masks are mandatory throughout Pennsylvania to get the coronavirus to go away.
Which I started wearing a mask out, which I haven't not gone very many places other than to pick up groceries or get gas, which was only one time in the last 3 or 4 weeks. But
yeah,
I have that makeshift. You have the image. You've used it many a times here on the show.
Yeah, I love that image that you have. You have a turtleneck pulled up over your head and then a hat pulled down. None of it is league standard. None of them are certified. Like Wolf would look at those and be like, "I don't think so, guys."
Yeah, I took two tassel hats and I cut the tops off so then they can pull over your face and go right over. But there's 3 layers that I have around there. Plus, I can pull up the hoodie.
Okay.
For a 4th layer. So I don't know, man. I feel like it's pretty good that I'm not breathing anything in.
Hi, Doug. Thanks for watching tonight. Hi, TJ. Hi, Jamie. Hi, Ryan in Philly. That's a hotbed, Philadelphia, right now. Hope everyone's feeling good there. Hi, Deneen. Hi, Ryan. Hi, Jason. Now, my friend Scott Oth, Ed, he went public today with a new idea on the mask. He took a lid from his crock pot, and he's using it now as a face mask while going out. And it looks like he tucked it into his hoodie. Not a bad idea.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. That looks very protective. That almost looks like one of those big, like, the movie Outbreak, where they wear like those big, like, yellow suits with the big masks on the front.
Yeah, he looks like Dark Helmet, like in a weird way, like Dark Helmet from Spaceballs.
Yes, right. Good comparison for sure.
Hi, Eric. Hi, Phil. Phil Clark in the house. Hi, John. John Boyd, my main man. Hope you're having a great day, John, over in the banking world. And then, Ed, that was Scott. And then I had a quick call with my mom earlier, and she debuted that I don't know why the picture's crooked, but she now has like a Cobra Commander, kind of like what you have right now, where it like is pulled up over the head. So that's what my mom's doing. And as everybody knows, I've said it enough times, my mom has not left the house now, I believe, for up to like 60 days. She was quarantined before it was even a quarantine. So I don't even know how that even worked.
She's been ahead of the curve for sure, right, man? I mean, she's shut it down. We were talking yesterday that I'm pretty sure now I'm going on 3.5 weeks of the last time I physically was actually inside of a store, really inside of any building or structure other than my home. I've pulled in to get stuff to be put into the car, for pickups. And
right.
Like I said,
are you nervous? Are you nervous to leave your house? And do you feel like even when Wolf or Trump or whoever says it's time to go back out, do you feel like you're still going to be hesitant?
Yes, I think so, at least for a while. I mean, it's it's one of those situations where, like we've said many times, I don't think anything that anybody is doing is over the top. Like, I think you got to do whatever you're comfortable with. So I think some people are comfortable with going out looking like this with no mask, no hat, no gloves,
right,
business as usual. And then I think there's other people who don't want to leave their house at all. I think I'm somewhere in the middle of that.
Okay.
Yesterday we went and picked up stuff from Sam's Club and Buffalo Wild Wings, which was a treat because I haven't had that in a long time.
Yeah.
Waited outside. Again, they bring it outside to you.
But now you'll have to have a mask on for them to deliver it. Now, according to Wolf, they'll be like, "Oh, we're not giving it to you because you don't have the mask. We're not opening the doors." Jason said that coffee filters under the masks are supposed to be really effective.
That's a good idea. I didn't think of that. I don't think.
Don't you think there might be? And I know that I'm not making light of the six-figure deaths around the world, but do you think there's anybody so far who have suffocated to death putting on too many things over their face to not get the coronavirus?
Well, I think what I put on is pretty close to it. I think I've had a few times where I've been like, "Oh boy, is this a little bit too much?"
Yeah, you felt like you're like a snowman, like you're all packed in.
I only have it on for like I don't know, a minute, maybe 2 minutes at most. I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not.
Just saw speaking of my mom, who has been quarantined for at least 60 days now. She just reported that California has announced no sporting events or concerts for all of 2020. So what do you do about opening football up? I don't know. I don't know what this political or constitutional debate is between the federal government and the states. But if the governor of California says no football, but Trump says football, who wins out on that? I don't know. Would they arrest? Are they going to arrest? Are they going to arrest a baseball player on the field if that happens? I don't know how this all works. It's going to be complete chaos.
Well, that is very interesting. That if they came out and said for the entire year, I wonder if was that just a recommendation or is that final?
No, I think that's final. Newsom, the governor, made that announcement.
Oh man, if that's true, it's disappointing, but at the same time, I think also understandable right now and what we are. I mean, how can you just tomorrow or tomorrow is probably a little bit too crazy, but let's say next month by this time, can you go sit at PNC Park with 40,000 other people? Well, let's back that up. PNC Park with 15,000 other people.
We're ahead of the curve here in Pittsburgh.
15 or 4.
There's some conflicting news now. Now my wife's saying she doesn't know if that's final. TJ's saying he's optimistic that they'll have it without fans. So hey, let's just get right to some sports then. Let's not let him stand by any longer. He is a senior writer for The Athletic. Let's bring in Mark Kaboly, all the way from his home. And I have no idea where he lives, but I think I'm hoping he's in Pittsburgh. Hey, Mark, how you doing?
You know what? How you guys doing?
Good,
I actually have a visual aid for Ed's original artwork. I pulled it out of my kid's toy box.
Oh, there you go.
Look at that.
No, see that was pretty
cool. Now that I see it, it's identical. Ed, this was genius, man.
Yeah, look, I'm very close to that, Mark. Don't you think?
There you go. There you go.
Hey, when your 6-year-old says to you, "Can you draw Fozzie Bear or Kermit?" I'm like, "Oh, let's give it a try." I think I came pretty close.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful, Mark. Mark, what are you doing inside? Obviously, you've been reporting on the Steelers for what? I mean, almost 15 years or even more now. What
It's been a while.
are you an at-home teacher now? Do you have kids who the school district is forcing you to be a teacher?
Yeah, I mean, I have a 5 and a 3-year-old. The 5-year-old is in preschool, so preschool virtual school is basically 45 minutes of singing songs in the morning. So I'm pretty okay with that one right now. So
What songs are you singing? Can you give us a hint? What
you know, a little of the letter songs. I was not aware of these letter songs when I grew up, but apparently each letter of the alphabet has a song.
Of course,
V is for vegetable, and they sing those songs all the time, and I might join in every once in a while.
Well, it's interesting too. You being a journalist, you're used to the written word. How about these books for kids where you open it up and it's like the entire page one is just the letter A with an alligator drawn on that? You're a journalist. You could get away with that. Someone's made millions of dollars off those books.
I probably still need an editor to look it over if I wrote it, right? That's not a bad idea, though. I mean, just get a good illustrator. I could probably write that book in a day or two.
Hey, Mark, what's this?
Look at my hair. Holy cow. That's the problem with this quarantine.
My wife cut my hair. Look at that.
Ed, where'd you get your hair cut at?
I was going to say, man, I don't have to worry about that. This gets shaved every couple of days.
Yeah, there's no worry at all. No worry at all. But so where's your hair normally at? Because we had Andrew Stockey on Monday. I swear to God, he has a secret barber somewhere that's still working because he came on and looked perfect. He looked like he was just fresh out of the barber's chair.
Yeah, I mess with Richie Walsh all the time on Twitter, and I tell him he has great hair and he's getting it colored, and he gets really offended about it. But I think he gets his barber, Sergio, to come in the back door and get a quick buzz in and back out. Those TV guys are probably really, really struggling with this more than anything else.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Hey, and TJ just wrote in there for you, Mark, that he loved your high school picture that you put on Twitter. Did you do that today?
You know what? That wasn't me. I was making fun of Yoey.
Oh, that's Judge Yoey's picture?
Yoey posted it on Instagram so nobody else would see it. So, of course, I stole it and put it on Twitter and said, hey, in honor of the 2020 class, here's my senior picture. And a lot of people thought it was me. And it was like, wait a second, this is kind of weird. So I mess with Yoey a lot. So that tends to be something I enjoy doing.
I love it.
We're going to have Josh on tomorrow night, Mark. I was joking with Bill Hughes last night that this is like a Valley Independent reunion this week between him, you, and Josh. It's the old crew coming back together.
Yeah, I remember I just started in the Valley Independent probably, 90, I think I started 96 or whatever. And I recall going to Bell Vernon basketball games and seeing this guy be the public address announcer. A couple of years later, I figured out that was you, Ed.
The voice of the Leopards.
Oh, yeah.
That's where we first met. Of course, Mark, you're a BV grad as well, and we know a lot of the same people, and John Sandusky being one of them. I know you're always on there messing around with Johnny.
Yeah, John Sandusky. You know what? Little known fact about John Sandusky, he ended my football career.
How?
We were at practice one time in high school, and we were going to get in the boards. And the boards is just like a flat 2x4 to keep the wide base, and he destroyed my knee. This was like 1989. In 1989, when you have surgery, you don't really come back very well.
That's it.
So John Sandusky ended my football career.
Wow, what a bummer.
Yeah.
Not like today. I mean, today you get that surgery, you might be back before the end of the season, right?
I mean, you look at people like the Steelers last year. You had Benny Snell and Jalen Samuels, running backs, that had surgeries and were back within 3 weeks. It's just amazing how much it's gotten better. I mean,
hey, Mark, what's the general sense around the Steelers right now? Is it just a depression? Is it confusion? Is it all focused on the draft and just let what happens happen after? What's the feel?
Yeah, right now they wouldn't be doing anything players-wise right now. They would probably just started going to the facility right now because they have off-season phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, just sort of, running around without any supervision. Where it starts to hit now is after the draft, where they were supposed to have the rookie mini camp probably 2 weeks after the draft, then OTAs, then the mini camp all the way until the end of June. Then they were going to have a quick turnaround because they had the Hall of Fame game scheduled that they were going to start training camp probably in the July 25th or so. So right now, as for players, it doesn't really affect them much. But the draft guys, this has to be crazy. This is how they're going to be doing the draft Thursday, Friday, and Saturday right here.
Yeah, the virtual draft. What a change! And Goodell's going to be in his basement. How crazy that's going to be?
Yeah, I'm thinking his basement looks a little better than mine. What do you think?
I think it has like a big picture of James Harrison with an X through his face.
Oh man, there was a couple quotes James Harrison said a couple of years ago. I probably shouldn't say it on a family show like this on Facebook.
Right.
Something about peeing on him or something, something like that. But yeah, it's interesting. What should be interesting is most of these, scouts, GMs, they don't know how to do this stuff. So they've been probably have to get in a tutorial just on how to, set this stuff up. And you know how regimented those guys are. Something a little bit different. They're whining that they're not being able to bring guys in for pre-draft meetings. They've been a year or so on these guys, interviewed probably everybody they possibly wanted to interview at either the Senior Bowl, the East-West Shrine game, or the Combine, but they're still kind of worried that they might not have enough info.
Wow. So, and Tomlin's going to be, when he gets on, he'll go, okay, can everybody see me?
He might not even do it.
Move back.
Actually, we have a Zoom meeting set up with him on Monday, him and Colbert. So this should be a nice introduction of how he might do it. You have to understand, Tomlin doesn't talk now. I mean, last time he talked was December 31st. And he doesn't talk, unless, he goes on ESPN out of the blue like he did with the Myles Garrett thing. But he doesn't talk. He just doesn't talk in the off season. He doesn't talk in the regular season. So this is kind of unusual for me. I know he's probably despising this. He has to do this on Monday with us. This should be. I'm going to have to tape it. He's going to be miserable.
Hey, Mark, let's talk a little bit about the draft coming up a week from tomorrow. What do you think about the Steelers? Where do they go? Of course, they're not going to have the first-round pick, but they have that second-round pick, and then they got those 2 third-round picks, which I think – is it the third round or fourth round that they have 2? I think it's the third, right?
2 and the fourth. They got 1 in the third. They got that third-round pick. They gave up their third-round pick to get Devin Bush last year, but they acquired the third-round compensatory pick for losing Le'Veon Bell. Then they got 2 fourth-round picks. One was their own, and one was a trade, I believe, with I'm not sure who they got, Nick Vanette or something like that. Was able to. No, I think it was the Fitzpatrick one that came back to them. But they got 2 fourths. They have 1 pick at 49. They don't have any other one until I think 102. But then they go quick at like 120 and 135. So there's a little sweet spot there, late third, early fourth, where they should get some decent players. But that second round's the big one. 49th overall, you can't really, you think about it, you can't really figure out who you're going to get there because, in the past, like last year, you knew Devin Bush was their target. You knew you were going to have to get within the top 10 picks to get him. This year, you have no idea what's going to happen until you get to that second day and see how things played out, which leads me to believe that they're going to do just best player available. And best player available would be best position available. If you see how the draft is working out, to me, it looks like wide receiver because that's where the most value is going to be in that middle of that second round. So,
is there any value? Is there any value left to? Speaking of value, do the Steelers see any value left in Duck and Mason Rudolph after last year's debacle?
Well, Duck is cheap, and he has 8 starts under his belt or 6 starts, so there's no use getting rid of him. As for Mason, there has to be value with him because, first of all, he is cheap. When you pay your quarterback, I think he's, $30 million this year, and I think he counts $40 million against the cap next year. You're going to have to cut some costs somewhere, and this just happens to be a backup quarterback. But, Mason Rudolph, you have to realize people were on him hard last year for how poorly he played early in the season. This is a guy whose rookie year never put a helmet on. He never even took a snap at practice. Very few. He had to do virtual reality to get reps in practice where he, after practice, he'd put a, virtual reality goggles on, go up in the second floor and pretend like he's throwing. That's
really? Is that true?
Yeah. So that's how far behind he was. That's why, they put Dobbs at number 2. When you have the pecking order during the season. The number one gets most of the snaps, the number two gets some first team and most, show team, they call it, the other team reps as well. The third quarterback gets very few reps at all. So he didn't have anything. So he gets thrown in there. He gets thrown in there week 2, and he gradually getting better, gradually getting better. Then that Cleveland thing happens. So you would think that he would get better. I don't know if he's going to be, franchise caliber, but until they find one of those, I think he's a cheap option where, first he should be better this year. And second of all, he at least had some experience under his belt right now that he should be better this year.
Mark, we talked to Ray Fittipaldo last week from the PG a little bit about this and about the Steelers' defense going into this season. And, you get Stephon Tuitt back, which, again, he only had, 6 games under his belt, I think, last year before he got hurt. But he was on a tear early on in the season. So you get Tuitt back. Of course, you got Fitzpatrick now in that secondary. The linebackers, Bush now has his rookie year underneath his belt. How good do you think this Steeler defense will be this upcoming season?
Well, they're probably going to have to be very good. They have the chance to be really, really good because if they stay healthy. I mean, that's always when you have the way the Steelers put their roster together, they got about 10 people making $10 million or more in the season. When you do that, you have very little depth, and you have to stay healthy. I mean, you got the inside linebacker depth. It's okay now, but the depth's nowhere. Outside linebackers do pretty good. No depth. Defensive line, great, no depth. You can probably say that about cornerback. So if they stay healthy, I think they have a chance to be very, very good. They got very few holes. You would consider them getting better. I don't see anybody could possibly take a step back. It's just, I think, a matter of staying healthy. And if Dupree can match the year he had last year, that could help out Watt. I think the bigger thing is first the injuries, and on the offensive side of the ball, can the quarterback stay healthy for 16 games. If they do all that, I don't see why they're not a division contender at least.
Mark, what about Tom Brady, obviously on his way to Tampa Brady or Tampa Bay, whichever you prefer. But is now Pat Mahomes, is Lamar Jackson, are these two guys the new Brady for the Steelers that we're never going to be able to surpass?
Never thought about it like that way. I don't know about Lamar Jackson because they played him extremely well in Pittsburgh last year. Then he didn't play the second game. I mean, until Lamar Jackson first can win a playoff game of matters and he can throw the ball outside the numbers, I think he has chances. He has holes in his game, although he's pretty good at what he does. So I think he'll continue to get better, but I definitely think he's not a guy that's over the top that you can't beat. As for Mahomes, he's pretty good. He's going to make a lot of money next year.
He's not too bad.
Yeah, but the combination of Brady and Belichick just seemed a little bit more daunting than Mahomes and Reed. I don't know. They just seemed like they could be beaten. So I wouldn't think that in our lifetime we'll ever see anything like the Brady Belichick dynasty ever again. That's just ridiculous what they did in the 20-year span.
Let's hope not, because it's not going to be Rudolph Tomlin.
Well, isn't it going to be like Jameson Tomlin or Jalen Hurts and Tomlin, right?
Yeah, right.
Want to draft something?
Yeah.
I have a better chance of getting drafted than Jalen Hurts by the Steelers.
I couldn't believe that last week. Ray mentioned that last week. That was the first I'd heard of it, and then all of a sudden it started popping up on all the different sites last week. And I'm thinking to myself, like, does nobody pay attention to this thing? I mean, the history of the Steelers?
It's not even the history. They've guaranteed Roethlisberger contract through this year, and when they restructured it this year, they basically guaranteed it next year as well. You're basically pushing all your chips to the middle of the table with Roethlisberger. Why in the world would you want to get a guy like Hurts that can, might be ready in 3 years, make 4 years? You already made that decision to go with Big Ben. You just stick with it and hope he stays healthy. And if you need Mason to fill in once or twice, then so be it. Hopefully he does better than he did last year. But, Jalen Hurts, any of those guys, I think you just have to roll with your quarterback right now and just hope he stays healthy.
Hey, here's a quick question, Mark, and we'll let you go, from Doug, who's watching. What are your thoughts on the signing of Derek Watt?
Derek Watt. I don't think it was that bad when you think about it. A lot of people criticized it a lot because the money he was making, but when you consider that they were paying Roosevelt Nix basically that money, I think his cap hit Watt's like $2 million this year. Nix would have been $1.5 million. Nix was hurt all of last year. He had 2 knee injuries last year. So that's significant when it comes to the Steelers and Tomlin. When you have multiple injuries to the same body part, they usually show you the door. And they needed a special teams guy. And now, not only that, is they have a guy who hasn't missed a game in his career. It's 4 years in San Diego. He's a great special teams guy. And he now gives them options to potentially be that fullback in the red zone, be a guy who's sort of a tight end capable, but not just tight end, sort of off the line of scrimmage a little bit in the passing game. Just gives them a lot of different options that they don't have when they had Roosevelt Nix. So I'm not going to get too worked up one way or another over, what was it, 3 years and $9 million for Derek Watt. It is what it is.
Is what it is.
And immediately you start hearing about the JJ Watt. Let's sign JJ now. Let's get him in there and have all 3 of them here.
No, do you see the previews for the It Tag show with the Watt brothers?
I saw the Jimmy Fallon one last night. Did you see that?
No, the Watt brothers, all 3 are hosting it's called It Tag, or it's called You're It, where it's a mix of American gladiators and regular people, and they go on obstacle courses and try to tag each other. It looks phenomenal. My son, who's 8, basically his brain exploded when we saw it.
I would think TJ would get the advantage. JJ's been injured often. And Derek's not as athletic as the other. Oh no, apparently Derek was by far the best athlete in high school out of the 3. Derek Watt was just a superstar high school athlete. I think sort of didn't translate much into the pro game. But last night it was
how
Jimmy
it translates into the It Tag game.
He was on Jimmy Fallon, those 3, and they were doing some kind of goofy skit there, along with their Subway commercials. They're really playing this 3 brothers into something pretty nice. But
I love it. Hey, Mark, thank you for your time. Senior writer Mark Kaboly for The Athletic. We'll see you covering the Steelers in the draft. Also, Fozzie Bear and Kermit Baby, the inspiration. Thank you, man.
Belverian guys, we can do that. So go ahead, go bust away, my friend.
All right, guys.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for the time, my man.
Thanks, buddy.
There he goes, Mark Kaboly from The Athletic. Boy, a lot of people love The Athletic. When it first came on and you saw it coming about, I thought, oh, this is interesting. And then, boy, you start seeing some big names go to it. And then you saw Kaboly go to it. And you thought, well, this is for real, man. This is worth a couple bucks.
I think Ed Bichette's over there too now. He left the Post-Gazette and he's doing stuff with them. So it's crazy, man. It's a great website though. I saw our buddy Phil Clark commented it's the best site for sports out there, and I think they're offering a free trial right now too. So definitely check that out. And for all you Penguin people, we've been talking Steelers last 2 weeks, but we're going to talk about the Pens with Josh Yohe from The Athletic tomorrow night.
And I've never watched a game of hockey in my whole life, so I'm going to really look forward to getting his inside perspective of, like, what is a puck? Hey, let's bring in we got a packed show, Ed, and I hated to jump off with Mark, but let's bring in Clyde. Clyde Callicott is the lead of Right Turn Clyde musically. Hey, there he is. Hey, Clyde, how you doing, man?
Hey, guys. How we doing, guys? How we doing?
All right. Hey, thanks for being on with us. This Saturday is Pgh Service Staff Aid, 12 hours on Facebook Live. It's the living room concert full of Pittsburgh legendary rockers and up-and-coming people. And Clyde, how did this concert come about, and how did you become working class hero for it to put it all together?
Well, it all started, about 6 weeks ago when this, pandemic started. And originally it was kind of a smaller grassroots project. And I was going to ask a few friends, and we're going to go to the studio and do a virtual concert and try to raise some money. And I started to post things on Facebook, and then out of nowhere, Bob McCutcheon with Vault Studios reached out, and never met the guy in my life, and said, Clyde, what can we do to help you make this a big deal? Then, just as we were talking, everything hits the fan. In a sheer second, the whole world basically collapses. the idea behind it, focusing on hospitality workers, and those are people in the restaurant, bar, hotel business, valet workers, dishwashers, anybody that's tied into that. I go way back. Most of my career was in the hospitality industry, and the long story short, I came back to Pittsburgh from Nevada in 09, 10, when the economy was pretty much crashed at that point, and I couldn't find a job. I had $500 in my pocket. I had 2 suitcases, no car, and my guitar. And a friend of mine gave me an opportunity to work in a catering company, to sling dishes and bartend for $10 an hour. And that little job helped me get on my feet and rent an apartment and buy an old Volvo to get around with the ceiling thing falling down. But it allowed me to get on my feet. So years jump ahead, and I'm watching this happen, and I'm starting to see people online that are servers going, oh my God, they're starting to get laid off. What are we going to do? What's going to happen? And at the same time, talking to Bob, I go, Bob, what if we create something big? And lo and behold, that night, I was watching a rerun of Bohemian Rhapsody, and I saw that scene with Live Aid.
Right.
And I go, wow, there we go. And at the same time, everything really goes down where you can't gather and you can't have groups and you have to stay home. And so I go, Bob, what if we created a virtual concert? And so we started to go through, researching different platforms. I did a lot of homework on that. And at the same time, I started to reach out with every musician I know in town. And then I started to reach out to larger musicians from out of town. And then I started to reach out to national acts that had Pittsburgh roots. And at first they're like, what? What are you talking about? How are you going to pull this off? And then all of a sudden everyone started to realize it. And then it started to come together. And then we were able to reach out to guys like Joe Grishecki and Donnie Iris and the Borstal Boys, who actually stood up, John Vento, who said, what can we do to help you? And it just grew from there. And right now we have over 62 of the region's top entertainment, the best in Pittsburgh, the best in the region, and a huge variety. We've got some blues, and we've got rock, and we've got contemporary hits, and we've got country, and we've got variety acts. We even have a guy named Flip Orley. He's one of the nation's top comic hypnotists from Louisiana. He lives in Louisiana, but he travels all over the country. Okay. He's going to do a session. But he's not going to try to hypnotize people. But he does like relaxation and things. So he's going to do a session there. I got a guy named Finus Henderson. He's one of the nation's top vocal impressionists from Vegas, and he's going to pop in and do a number, and just on and on and on. And what really put it over the mountain here is that we approached the United Way. And the United Way, looked at us kind of like, what? What are you doing?
Yeah.
And then
because this is who it benefits, right? It benefits United Way.
Right. And, they were so tied into the whole thing when the synagogue shooting happened, 2 years ago. And it was a Zoom meeting, and the head person said, we're going to do this. And so they stepped in, and they did it different. And what's happening is that every dollar that we're raising goes directly to the United Way Emergency Relief Fund, but it's earmarked specifically for this project. And so and they don't do it like that. And they saw the seriousness. They saw, and we saw so many grassroots groups trying to help people, and it's everywhere. It's not just the hospitality folks, and God bless everyone's work. But, they said there isn't an organized group that's focused to all those restaurant people that got laid off, and all those restaurant and hotel people that got laid off, and all those people that don't know what's going on. So they stepped up to the plate, and they're really making this a big deal. And we're super happy. Like one of our sponsors is the Pittsburgh Pirates. They're involved with this project, and we're getting sponsors, and we're starting to get donations. And I've heard it before, and that you hear people that they talk about they live literally check to check. Well, these guys lived shift to shift.
Right.
Okay. and not to borrow from a Marvel movie, but in a click of a finger, their life disappeared.
Well,
And
if you're a dishwasher and there's no dishes to wash, there's a
right.
big problem in your life. And
Now,
that's where we're at right now.
right. And so the cool part of this is that we've all come together. I'm calling it, we're calling it a historic Pittsburgh community event because the entire city is behind this. In what I'm seeing and what we're being able to do is, yes, it's being broadcast off the Facebook group, Pittsburgh Service Staff Aid, the actual Facebook group. But we have something called the Love Network. And Pittsburgh Facebook groups that are tied into everything have reached out, and they're doing watch parties, and we're syncing it, and we're coming across. And so the entire city will be able to see this on Facebook. All the artists that are involved are doing watch parties. And the goal is to raise as much money as we possibly can, but there's so many people that need help, and it's across the board. And I'll give you an example, and it kills me. I get messages all the time now. Now it's all over the press, and everyone's talking about it now, thank goodness, and I appreciate everyone's help on that. Last night, about 11 o'clock, and I haven't been able to sleep till like 1 or 2 every night. I'm just tossing and turning. There's a lot of work that's going on with this behind the scenes. And I had this woman reach out to me last night and said, Clyde, God bless you for the work you're doing, but my husband was laid off. I was laid off. We're running out of money. We know there's a check coming because we didn't know till this morning that some people got checks and some people still did not. And some of the government money's not there quite yet.
Right.
She goes, can you help me find a place where I can get food to feed my twins? I didn't have the answer for this woman. And this is why we're working so hard.
It's the reality of it, man, right? That right now there is everyone's upside down.
Yeah.
And we
I know.
can
I know.
in every area.
And this is why we're working so hard to make this happen. This is why, the United Way stepped in like they did. And the cool part, it's tied into what's called the 211 Emergency Relief Fund with United Way, where people will be able to, after the dollars are collected, and I hope we raise a lot of money, people will be able to dial 211. That takes you directly to the United Way Emergency Relief area, and they will direct and help you with the dollars that we've raised. It's one of those things where, do you need diapers? Or do you need food? Or do you need your rent paid? Or your electricity still on? Things that are immediate. This will be taken care of by the funds raised. And that's why we have to, the more we raise, the more people we can help. And
another goal is $20,000. I hope we blow it out of the water, man.
Well, you know what? I think we can. I'd love to be like Jerry Lewis and cry my tail off, and see 100,000, 200,000, 300,000. If we can do it, then we did our job. If we can help these people, if we can help that lady find her food, then we've done our job. And the thousands behind her.
Yeah, so she's not the only one, man. She's not the only one.
I know. So that's what it's all about. Pittsburgh Service Staff Aid. It's live on Facebook, 12 noon to 12 a.m. Like I said, over 62 of the best artists. I mean, it kind of starts out light. But all of them are great. You got some of the best club acts in town. You got some of the best B-listers and A-listers. And then you got the superstars that pop in, so we're just so excited about everybody being a part of that. But like I said, you can start. The broadcast is hosted off the actual Facebook group, at Pittsburgh Service Staff Aid. Go in. There's people already populating it now.
And how do we donate, Clyde? Most importantly, how do we give some money?
The links are there. The links are there. Go to the page. You'll see the links where you can do it. In fact, we'll be emphasizing the links starting tonight as the countdown begins. And we actually, we're about 3-4 days down. There's a lot of behind the scenes, a lot of dry runs. It's live TV. So
Yeah,
you guys
right.
know what I'm talking about. We were very happy to come up with a platform that's very stable, and we've tested it a couple of times. We've gone through our dry run last Saturday. We're going to go through an extensive dry run Friday night,
Okay.
which people, if they want to kind of see a sneak peek, we've got some artists that'll be doing some live stuff, and
We're hoping not to mess it up. You've asked us so generously to host and MC one of the hours. I think it's like from 10 to 11 on Saturday, which Ed and I are pumped about. I just don't want to mess it up for you, man.
No. The cool part is
I
that
don't want to mess this up.
behind the scenes, just like what you guys are doing now, it's me and a producer. And I'll go live for the first couple of hours, and then we'll bring in, we've got a number of guest DJs and on-air personalities that have said, please, can I help? And I said, sure. And so roughly, I think it's after 4 o'clock, we've got all kind of guests that'll be brought in virtually, kind of like you're doing with me.
Sure.
They talk to the act. The act, we literally bring them into a virtual green room, and they're lined up. The show's divided into 11 1-hour segments, and the acts go into the green room, and they know what's about to happen, and then we bring them on, and they do their stuff, and it's one after another, bang, 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 bang.
I love it. Well, hey, this Saturday, Pittsburgh Service Staff Aid, 12 hours to benefit Pittsburghers and people who need it the most, our workers who are in the service field every day, and we need to get them back. Clyde Callicott, thank you, man. We'll see you Saturday, and we'll put the links up on our website.
So much. Thank you so much, and I appreciate spreading the word. We have so much work to do and so many people to help.
God bless you, man. Great job.
Thank you,
All
Clyde.
Right. Bye-bye.
Very good. We'll look for you on Saturday. That's going to be an exciting event, Ed. That's Clyde Callicott, Pittsburgh Service Staff Aid, this Saturday, the Living Room Concert. And Clyde must be so tired because these things are all encompassing. They never stop, and he's going to be exhausted. Sunday morning will be a breath of fresh air for him, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's what did he? How many accidents? Like 65 or
65. Donnie's going to be there. Joe.
That's incredible. But
yeah,
to hear his story, and he got emotional there too, and that's just that really puts things in perspective and makes you want to give and be a part of this, because there are so many people impacted right now. Alex
just said this sounds like a marathon of NPR Tiny Desk concerts. That is kind of what it sounds like. But have you seen those, Ed? The NPR Tiny Desk. I think they're really cool. So I'm excited to check it out for Saturday. Hey, we're not done yet, because I know that Sean Gibson has been standing by so patiently. I see him in our little green room waiting to come on. Sean, of course, the great grandson of Josh Gibson, the home run king, Pittsburgh Crawfords, Homestead Grays. How you doing, Sean? Good to see you, man.
Brian, I'm great, man. Was waiting on you.
I saw you in the little room waiting to come in. I was like, oh, man, all I want to ask him about is home runs.
Yeah, 720.
I know, right? Everything went to crazy. But I know no one's doing anything right now, right? So hopefully you DVR the Wheel of Fortune.
Right.
Hey, well, welcome. And of course, today throughout Major League Baseball, April 15th is Jackie Robinson Day, an exciting day for the whole world, in my opinion. And kind of an overview as well. This is the 100th anniversary year of the Negro Leagues. So a lot going on.
Yeah, like you mentioned, if we had baseball going on right now, we'd be celebrating Jackie Robinson Day. April 15th, as we all know, that's celebrated all throughout MLB, through all the teams. Yeah. We're in number 42. But unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we're not doing anything with baseball. But, we can still carry on his legacy. Jackie Robinson was a great man and did a lot of great things for African Americans in 1947.
Yeah, imagine being there at that moment. And I guess it's hindsight being 2020, right? Where you go, oh, I'd love to be there. But man, to think of the struggle that Jackie Robinson took on the day he ran on the field. I don't know if anyone's built, maybe, but for him to take on that pressure. And boy, man, he blew it out of the park, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He had a lot of pressure. I mean, he had over 20 million African Americans supporting him and on his back of his shoulders. And I think I always bring this up and always mention this, and I think people don't realize this. If just say if Jackie would have failed in 1947, who knows how long it would have been before they would took another African-American baseball player. So he had a lot of pressure. Because if he would have failed, probably would have took another 10 years or so for them to take another black baseball player. So a lot of pressure on him, but he overcame the adversity and obstacles, and he made it happen through all the death threats and the racism. We all know how the times were back then. And, people talk about the other great Negro League baseball players, Satchel Paige and Cool Papa Bell, and of course, Josh. But what Jackie had, he had that military background. He had the UCLA education. And I think the military background really probably which Graham Rickey saw in him that really helped him to go with Jackie first. So, like you said, it's the 100th anniversary of the Centennial. If it wasn't for Rube Foster, it may not be no Jackie Robinson. Rube Foster is the guy who came up with the Negro Leagues in 1920. So it wasn't for Rube Foster, we would not be sitting here talking about a Jackie Robinson or a Josh Gibson.
Sean, it's just a tremendous story, all the background and everything that goes with the Negro League. And, of course, the movie 42, specifically to Jackie Robinson that came out not too long ago. Watched that with my two young sons. Just a great movie and really, I thought, captured his story and the stress that you just talked about that really went behind him and what he had to go out on the field to do to really make this to make an impact.
Yeah, I mean, as African Americans, we can only appreciate what Jackie Robinson has done. Even some of the baseball players today, we all know about, like I said, the great Negro League baseball players. But, Jackie, what he's done, and not only what he done on the diamond, what he done off the diamond. If you all know, he's very heavily involved in civil rights. He did a lot for African Americans off the field. So he's definitely a pioneer and someone that should be celebrated, not just on one day, but 365 days of a year.
And we've talked about this before, Josh, and I know that you might be somewhat biased, but Josh Gibson's death, untimely, way too early, that could have been Josh Gibson as the first African-American player in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, it could have been. We can look back in 2020 hindsight. But Jackie, people always say, Jackie probably wasn't the best player out of the Negro Leagues, but he was the right player at that time. I mean, he had a lot of great players. I mean, just take the teams here in Pittsburgh. You had Buck Leonard, you had Josh Gibson, you had Cool Papa Bell, you had Satchel Paige. You had just right here in the city of Pittsburgh had some great talent that could have went on to the majors and been great players. But as far as Josh, we're happy with Josh's career. Of course. When people talk about certain white players, just say Babe Ruth, for instance, is the greatest baseball player. And I'm saying, well, how can you say that he didn't play against African-American baseball players? I can't even say Josh Gibson is the greatest because he didn't play against white players. So it's hard to categorize those guys as who's the greatest. What I always say is Josh Gibson is one of the greatest.
Yeah, and it had to mean a lot to his induction into the Hall of Fame, along with a lot of the Negro League greats.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when any athlete, that's the high point of their career, the Hall of Fame. And, I mean, for the Negro League baseball players, especially for Josh, a player who never played in the majors and still be able to get into the Hall of Fame is tremendous. But, again, going back to that, some of you may or may not know, but when Ted Williams went to the Hall of Fame, I think it was 67 or 68, in his Hall of Fame speech, he mentions one day he hopes to see guys like Josh Gibson and Satchel Paige into the Hall of Fame. So a lot of people credit Ted Williams for helping get these guys into the Hall of Fame by speaking about that in his speech.
Hey, are there any events going on? I know that Black History Month, you were everywhere. I tried to get tickets for me and my daughter. I should have called the source, but I didn't. You were a dollar bank in the city and you got sold out too fast. And I'm trying to tell the manager of the bank that I kind of know you. And they were like, sorry, there's no more seats. But has the pandemic right now shut down the Centennial celebration, or is there things that we can find online and look forward to as we're allowed outside?
Exactly. Well, you already said it, man. What is going on? It's the pandemic. That's what's going on. I mean, it's hard to beat the pandemic. Right. I mean, right now, just give you a recap. What we did have planned in June 26th to the 28th, we were hosting a Josh Gibson Negro League Classic with a group of young men from ages 9 through 12 that was going to come in from different cities to represent their Negro League city.
Cool.
We still may do that because, everything's up in the air right now. It may not be teams from out of town, maybe local teams. But our main events were our symposium in October and our Josh Gibson Gala. And we're still trying to figure out what we're going to do with that, because with the gala and the symposium, we were bringing in celebrities to be on the symposium and also to be at our gala to recognize with the Josh Gibson Award. We just give it to a former Major League Baseball player. And our past recipients have been from Barry Bonds to Reggie Jackson to Lou Brock to Juan Marshall, and the Clemente family list goes on. So I think the most important thing that myself, my committee, and our board is really trying to figure out is, once the pandemic is released, it's going to be more up to how people feel about being inside of a crowd. And we don't know how long that's going to take. You know what I mean? How more people feel comfortable being in a crowded event. And so if push come to shove, we'll have to celebrate 2020 and 2021. That's all we can
say. Do 2 years, man. Everyone deserves a timeout and get a restart. And so I think the same with the Centennial.
Well, I can tell you this: if it doesn't happen this year, it'll definitely happen next year. So, but right now, it's not saying no. We're just waiting to see how things play out.
Yeah, Sean, just a great story to tell. And when I think back about some of the teams that played back then, well, you had the Homestead Grays, right, and the Pittsburgh Crawfords. Were those was there any more, or was it just those two?
Those two. But
then the league consisted of how many teams?
The total Negro League team, over 30 to 40 teams. There were teams. Every team was except for the West Coast, East Coast, down South.
That's what I thought.
Midwest, but none on the West Coast. And so there was a lot of teams. And like I said, February 13th, 1920 is the actual founding date. Pittsburgh was not one of the original 8 that was in that team, in that league. But they did come on later. And of course, we had 2 great owners, whose one is in the Hall of Fame, Cumberland Posey, who's in the Hall of Fame with the Homestead Grays, and of course, Gus Greenlee, who owned the Crawford Grill in the Hill District. So there's a lot of history when it comes to the Negro Leagues here in Pittsburgh. We had, we've been blessed to have 2 great teams. Most cities only have 1 great team. We had 2, and some great talent on those teams. And a lot of Hall of Famers came from those teams.
Well, and 2 teams that were considered 2 of the best of all time, too.
Exactly.
Not just interesting.
And not just the Negro League baseball, not just the Negro League baseball and baseball period.
Overall.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it's sad because the history is so rich and so strong. When you do drive through the Hill District, you see some blue sign markers showing where the first Crawford Grill was, and in Homestead you have a few. But it's to not have something in the actual city or around the ballpark that, now I know there's still some banners for Legacy Square, and I'm not a fan of that, but for something that is permanent and true to highlight how special and how meaningful it is, I still feel like it's a black eye on Pittsburgh, at least in Pittsburgh sports.
Yeah, we all know at one time there was the statues there at Legacy Square, and back in 2015 they were removed. But yeah, the thing that we try to do along with my family and the Josh Gibson Foundation, we definitely want to keep not just Josh Gibson alive, but the whole Negro Leagues alive here in the city. And that's the main focus for us, whether it's the Homestead Grays Bridge, whether it's the mural of Josh in the painting with the Pittsburgh Pirates, whether it's Josh Gibson Field in the Hill District, whether it's Josh Gibson's grave site. Josh Gibson's grave site is one of the most busiest graves to be visited at Allegheny Cemetery. So there's a lot of things that is happening around Josh Gibson and the Negro Leagues here in Pittsburgh, and the foundation has been a big part of that. And
that gravesite was bought by Willie Stargell.
Exactly.
Good gift.
Well, you talking about the headstone? The headstone was right.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, and it's funny too. And my kids are we love baseball, and Ed's family loves baseball too. And my kids are just so sick of me hearing, but I think we had talked about this, Josh, but Pie Traynor, when he was the manager of the Pirates, openly ignored cries to bring Negro League players to his teams, and they were as bad as the Pirates are now. And there was only about 7 or 8 or 15 Hall of Famers that were on those teams that he openly ignored. And my kids are so tired of me hearing when we walk through PNC Park this 30-foot picture of Pie Trainer. I was like, there it is. And my son goes, I know, take it down. He ignored the Negro Leagues. Can't say
Well,
it
like you
enough.
said, yeah, there was a telegram from the Pittsburgh, Chester, Washington, from the Pittsburgh Hoyer, who sent the telegram to Pie Trainer saying that, we know your ball clubs needs players. Just taking the best talent off of the Pittsburgh Crawfords and Homestead Grays right here in your city, the Pirates have been a contender. But it's always who's going to be the first, who's going to be the first. And Branch Rickey, his name will never, ever be forgotten because of that, because he was the first and he did it. So if the Pirates would have done it back then, like you said, you didn't have to do much. They were right here in your city.
Yeah, I mean, they're basically right outside the stadium waiting to play. And it is unfair. It's unfair to beat up on Pie Trainer or anybody because they were living that. And again, we're watching this from 100 years fast forward, and we understand the impact and the social injustice. So it is unfair to say it. But the Pirates could take that picture down of Pie Trainer and make all the losses for me feel better.
Sean, did you play any ball, man? Did you play baseball?
No, actually, I played basketball. I went to Robert Morris, and then I transferred and I finished at Edinburgh University on a basketball scholarship.
Nice.
I played baseball recreational-wise, but I was no Josh Gibson.
I was going to say, it wasn't in the blood, huh?
Not baseball, but sports was, just not baseball.
Yeah, that's great.
Right.
Is there anything that's been handed down from family to family, Sean, that they're like, here's how he did it? Here's what his eating regimen was. Here was anything. Is there any of that behind-the-scenes history that is in every Sports Illustrated now but has been lost over 100 years?
Yeah, it's interesting you said that because being that it is the centennial year, we get a lot of interviews, and some of those questions are behind the scenes of like, okay, it's really not about Josh on the diamond. It's really about Josh off the diamond, because everybody kind of read the books and know about his home run greatness and the teams and the home run at Yankee Stadium. But one thing about Josh, he was a swimmer as well. He was a great swimmer. He was just a great athlete. A lot of people didn't know until the opera came out that his wife died at childbirth, giving birth to his twins. And one thing that people definitely don't know, we just been talking about this, is that he actually wanted the doctor to save his wife and let the twins go. So he was a very young man doing a lot of things. He was very generous. When I say generous, I mean as far as money, he would give money to people on the street. He was very well known throughout the city, especially in the Hill District. And then from what I'm saying, he was kind of a jokester. He was a happy-go-lucky type guy. You hear stories about him being an alcoholic and drinking, things like that. I'm not saying he didn't drink, but an alcoholic, there's two different things. Josh died very young of a brain tumor. He wasn't on no drugs or anything like that. Back then, a lot of those guys didn't trust doctors. He thought he had a routine headache. And next thing you know, when he found out about the brain tumor, it was too late. He suddenly passes away a few months before Jackie Robinson crosses the color barrier in 1947.
And amazing how you see how young he went, and then you see someone like Satchel Paige, who's the oldest rookie ever in Major League Baseball, and went on to play till he was 150 and still was throwing massive fastballs, which is just, the comparison is tragic.
Well, when you talk about Satch as well too, because people try to compare the greatness of MLB players and Negro League Baseball players, and I use Satch as an example. You got Satch way out of his prime, and he still was great. So you can imagine if he was in his prime, how he would have done against the Major League Baseball players. But we all know that they had the barnstorming, Satchel Paige All-Stars, Dizzy Dean All-Star. So these guys played against each other. So they knew, the white guys knew the talent. But like you said, they had to have someone who take that courage to make that statement to bring these guys in. And that's what Branch Rickey did.
It's a great story. It's history that deserves to still be told. And hey, what's the website for the foundation so people can figure it out? And I still have to order my Negro League Centennial shirt, which looks good on you, man.
That's what you got on right there, right?
That's it. So, just to keep informed on what the foundation is doing through the centennial year, they can go to our website, which is www.joshgibson.org. We'll be updating our website as things move forward around, pandemic and COVID-19. So hopefully, like I said, we know this restriction will be released, but it's all going to come down to how the public feel about being in crowds. And until that happens, we can't really say what we're going to do. But like I said, if we have to, believe me, we'll be back in 2021.
I hope so. And then there was an event at Duquesne as well, a symposium that's supposed to happen. That's later in the year.
Yep. So we had our last two events where it's called our gala weekend, our Centennial weekend, which was a symposium at Duquesne University on October 16th, and then our Black Tie Gala on the 17th. So both of those events were going to bring in national speakers. We were looking to bring in Sharon Robinson and Dusty Baker until he got with the Houston Astros, but a few other MLB players. So this was going to be a pretty heavy hitting Centennial for us. So, but again, we don't know how people are going to feel about traveling and things like that. So.
Well, Dusty might be fired after this year if he can't keep people from getting Altuve into baseball.
Brian, he didn't even start yet.
He's trying. He's trying. If there's one guy I'd listen to, it's him. But those balls are going to come flying.
All right. Well, hopefully we even get a season in or something.
Hey, Sean, thank you so much. JoshGibson.org is the website. Thanks for hanging out with us, man. This was really
thank you guys, and y'all stay safe and stay healthy.
You do the same, bud.
All right. Thanks, Sean. Sean Gibson, everybody. JoshGibson.org is the website. And there he goes. And that's an action-packed hour of Brian and Ed.
Woo, it was a busy night, man. Sean, that's awesome, man. The movie 42 is one of my favorite movies. That's a great movie. And
we watched that in Chicago together in a hotel room. Remember when we went to Chicago for the Bears-Steelers games? We watched that morning.
That's right. It was on there. That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah. And Ed, before we go, your mom says hi. Hi, Eddie and Brian.
Hi, Mom. She tried to FaceTime me today, and I missed it. So she said maybe.
You got to call back your mom.
Maybe
Friday. How about tonight?
She's probably in bed already. No, I'm going to bed pretty.
She just clicked hi, Eddie and Brian. You got to call your mom.
You know, when somebody refers to me as Eddie, it's either a family member or somebody I grew up with. You know what I mean? Not too many post-2000 people that I've met call me Eddie.
Well, my dad still calls you Eddie. I was FaceTiming with them before because my daughter Ellie got a phone today, which is a big deal. And so she's FaceTiming everybody. And my dad, who is very, very slow with praise at times, but always supportive, said, "Hey, I like what you and Eddie are doing."
See, well, he's pre-2000. He's part of that pre-2000 crowd.
He is. Yeah, he's the best.
I expect to hear Eddie. Well, that is a nice compliment, Mr. C. We appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, tomorrow, Josh Yohe from The Athletic is going to talk Penguins with us. And Friday, Bubba the Bulldog from Star 100.7, photographer Dave DiCello. And next Monday, Ed Sonny Abata will be joining us.
Oh, there you go. Great.
Former KDKA, and now she runs the mommy blog and raising kids, and we'll hear what she's up to. Now, look, your mom just commented, "I'm in bed watching you two."
Well, she'll probably turn this off and go to sleep right afterwards.
I love it. We'll call her tomorrow. Don't wait till Friday.
Yeah, that's true.
Promise me you'll call her tomorrow.
I will. I just called her on Easter. We talked on Easter Sunday. Okay. So that's only like 2 days ago.
No, it's already Wednesday.
And it'll be Thursday by tomorrow. I got it.
Thursday. All right. Ed, thank you. This was a great night. I hope that you had as much fun as I did. And boy, it feels like these days are going so long and so long. But man, when I jump on here with you, man, my best buddy, it flies by and I'm having a blast. And thanks for everyone who watches as well.
Absolutely, man. It is. It's before you know it, it's like 6:30 and I'm like, I got to wrap up dinner and get ready for the show.
Yeah, right. I'm like, I got to go up and see what Ed's been up to for the last 2 hours.
What are we going to do post quarantine? Are we going to continue this show or not? I guess we'll have to figure that out.
I don't know. No one's talking about it. No one's talking about it. We'll find out.
We might have to actually go do that real estate thing, but we might.
Do we have to go do that again? I like this.
I like this better too.
All right, Ed. We'll see you tomorrow night with Josh Yohe from The Athletic. Thank you, Edward.
Stay healthy, everyone.
There's Ed Troop. I'm Brian Carruthers from Pittsburgh. Good night, and make sure you wear your mask when you're going out in public.